Welcome back, Corey Anderson here. So today we had, for starters, it is Saturday. Right now it's 2:47 and it is January 23rd. Today we're going to go over Chapter 1 in our lovely book, The Science of Being Well. And the first chapter is known as the Principle of Health. Before we get started, I want to share with you guys something really quick. One of my clients, actually two of my clients, it's a husband and wife, and today they're telling me of their results. And we've had them for about two and a half to close to 3 weeks now. And they've already lost, the husband's already lost up to 10 pounds, and the wife's lost up to 7. And that made me feel really good because that, we're doing our best, and we're making it happen, and we're just doing our part, and they're doing theirs, and we're getting the results that we both are looking for, both are looking to get. And it feels good when two people are working together to reach a goal, and also just one person just doing what they do in order to reach their goal. There's nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it. Remember, your mind, it's like it has I was meditating the other day, and I was kind of focusing on how your consciousness changes when you change what you are focusing on. It came to me like it's like your mind has like fingers, millions and millions of fingers, and really thin, extremely thin, and it's like they're constantly moving, swaying back and forth, millions of them just around your body, like little fingers, and it's like it's your energy, and whatever you're focusing your energy on, these finger-like things, this energy is moving in that specific direction. When you're concentrating on one thing, it's like you can see it, being focused and moving towards that one goal, that one thing you're putting your mind to. And when you're not really focusing on anything, when you're just being aware of things, it's like they come back to just being there around you, because you're just bringing things in. It's interesting. It's you sit down, you just meditate, and you're focusing on you. You learn a lot of things about you, a lot of things that even these are here to help us. They're ideas from other people, but there are so many ideas that you have of yourself that have been given to you. You just need to trust your intuition, trust your gut, and believe in you. So, moving on with our Principle of Health, Chapter 1, The Science of Being Well. In the personal application of the science of being well, as in that of the science of getting rich, certain fundamental truths must be known in the beginning and accepted without question. Some of these truths we state here. The perfectly natural performance of function constitutes health, and the perfectly natural performance of function results from the natural action of the principle of life. There is a principle of life in the universe, and it is the one living substance from which all things are made. This living substance penetrates and fills the interspaces of the universe. It is in and through all things, like a very refined and diffusible ether. All life comes from it. Its life is all the life there is. Man is a form of this living substance, and has within him a principle of health. The word principle is used as meaning source. So every time we hear the word principle in this book, he's referring to the source of health. We all have a source of health within us. If we just tap into that source and work around with it, then perfect health will be ours, and we will be in perfect harmony with the universal. Because God is love, God is health, God is growth, God is life, God is light, God is everything. Infinite. The principle of health in man, or the source of health in man, when in full constructive activity, causes all the voluntary functions of his life to be perfectly performed. It is the principle of health in man which really works all healing, no matter what system or remedy is employed. and this principle of health is brought into constructive activity by thinking in a certain way. I proceed now to prove this last statement. We all know that cures are wrought by all the different, and often opposite, methods employed in the various branches of the healing art. One thing I want to add to what he just said right now. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the placebo effect, but if you haven't, go ahead and look it up, and if you have, then you're already on a specific line with me. The placebo effect. They made a scientific study, so one patient they did an actual surgery on. Okay, another patient they pretended that they did a surgery on. Okay, but both of these patients got the same results. They both got better. Now, what is the difference between these two? One of them thought they needed surgery, and one of them thought they had the surgery and believed that they had the surgery, and that in turn made them get better. Go ahead and look it up. Don't just take my word for it. Okay, do your research. Always do your own research and find out for yourself. Okay, that is what we are here doing. We're finding all this out for ourselves, and we're recording it and showing you guys it as well, because we're here to inspire you, and we're here to grow ourselves. And by doing that in front of you, and when you see it, then we want you to take the initiative for yourself as well. And that being said, moving on. Okay, the allopath, who gives a strong dose of a counter poison, cures his patient, and the homeopath, who gives a diminutive dose of the poison, most similar to that of the disease, also cures it. Okay, got my lovely amethyst stone. For those of you who don't know what amethyst stones are, this is actually my birthstone. It's power to the Aquarius. But amethyst stones are actually very good for helping your mind stay focused, and it gives you some sort of a mind power. It's very interesting. But I'll be right back. I need to find my phone really quick. Okay, here it is. It was right behind me. Okay, so we're going to look up this definition, okay, so we can find out what the word means. Diminutive. Okay. Small, little, tiny. A diminutive building for a model train layout. Okay. So diminutive means small, okay? So, let's read that sentence again. The allopath, who gives a strong dose of a counter poison, cures his patient, and the homeopath, who gives a diminutive dose of the poison, most similar to that of the disease, also cures it. If allopathy even cured any given disease, it is certain that homeopathy never cured that disease, and if homeopathy ever cured an ailment, allopathy could not possibly cure that ailment. The two systems are radically opposite in theory and practice, and yet both cure the most disease. And even the remedies used by physicians in any one school are not the same. Go with the case of indigestion to half a dozen doctors, and compare their prescriptions. It is more than likely that none of the ingredients of any one of them will be in the others. So he's basically saying that this allopathy, if this were to be true, then obviously the homeopathy couldn't have worked. But also likewise, if this homeopathy works, then wouldn't be possible for this allopathy to work. But both of them are working, and both of them are getting the same results from different methods. And what he's saying here with these prescriptions, none of these prescriptions have exactly the same thing as the other one does, but they're both doing the cures and doing the works. So if one person has a headache and they're taking two different things and they both cure it, what exactly is it that is really curing that headache? Is it really the prescription they are taking? That is something that we need to think about, don't we? Hey, remember that placebo effect that I was telling you about? Okay. Must we not conclude that their patients are healed by a principle of health within themselves, and not by something in the various remedies? Not only this, but we find that the same ailments cured by the osteopath with manipulations of the spine by the faith healer with prayer, by the food scientist with bills of fare, by the Christian scientist with the formulated creed statement, and by the mental scientist with affirmation, and by the hygienists with differing plans of living. They all have their own source of healing themselves, their own way of doing it. But what is that one thing that each one of these people share? What conclusion can we come to in the face of all these facts, but that there is a principle of health which is the same in all people, and which really accomplishes all the cures, and that there is something in all the systems, which, under favorable conditions, arouses the principle of health to action? That is, medicines, manipulations, prayers, bills of fare, affirmations, and hygienic practices cure whenever they cause the principle of health to become active. When they cause the principle of health within each individual to become active, and fail whenever they do not cause it to become active. Does not all this indicate that the results depend upon the way the patient thinks about the remedy, rather than upon the ingredients in the prescription? Now we're really getting somewhere here. There is an old story which furnishes so good an illustration on this point that I will give it here. It is said that in the Middle Ages the bones of a saint, kept in one of the monasteries, were working miracles of healing. On certain days a great crowd of the afflicted gathered to touch the relics, and all who did so were healed. On the eve of one of these occasions, some sacrilegious rascal gained access. Okay, hold on, let me read that one again. On the eve of one of these occasions, some sacrilegious rascal gained access to the case in which the wonder-working's relics were kept and stole the bones. And in the morning, with the usual crowd of sufferers waiting at the gate, the fathers found themselves shorn of the source of the miracle-working power. They resolved to keep the matter quiet, hoping that by doing so they might find the thief and recover their treasures, and hastening to the cellar of the convent, they dug up bones of a murderer, who had been buried there many years before. These they placed in the case, intending to make some plausible excuse for the failure of the saint to perform his usual miracles on that day, and then they let in the waiting assemblage of the sick and infirm. So these miracle bones that he is talking about in this lovely story that he is sharing, these people that are sick would come and they would touch the bones and then they would be healed. You know, they're known as sacred bones, healing bones, and these people came in and then they stole these bones, and now these bones are gone. They're wherever, they don't know where it is. Okay, so these people, they end up digging up, getting bones from some other place, and now they're replacing it with those former miracle bones. Now we have new quote-unquote miracle bones, but these bones are different, for they came from, what he's saying, a murderer. Okay, so they did that in hopes that the crowd they would be able to keep their what is this thing I'm looking for, to perform his usual miracles on that day. Their ability to keep performing his usual miracles on that day. Because if these bones are gone, then these people are not going to believe anymore that they're going to be healed. Okay? To the intense astonishment of who is on the secret, the bones of the malefactor proved as effective as those of the saint, and the healing went on as before. One of the fathers is said to have left a history of the occurrence, in which he confessed that, in his judgment, the healing power had been in the people themselves all the time, and never in the bones at all. Whether the story is true or not, the conclusion applies to all the cures wrought by all the systems. The power that heals in the patient himself, and whether it shall become active or not, does not depend upon the physical or mental means used, but upon the way the patient thinks about these means. There is a universal principle of life, as Jesus taught, a great spiritual healing power, and there is a principle of health in man which is related to this healing power. This is dormant or active according to the way a person thinks. He can always quicken it into activity by thinking in a certain way. Your getting well does not depend upon the adoption of some system or the finding of some remedy. People with your identical ailments have been healed by all systems and all remedies. It does not depend upon climate. Some people are well and others are sick in all climates. It does not depend upon avocation, unless in case of those who work under poisonous conditions. People are well in all trades and professions. Your getting well depends upon your beginning to think and act in a certain way. And same with the science of getting rich. I don't know if you're with us in that series, but that was the book we read right before this one. I encourage you to go check it out. He talks about this one source. He talks about taking specific action and being in the spirit of service for others. Okay, moving on. The way a man thinks about things is determined by what he believes about them. His thoughts are determined by his faith, and the results depend upon his making a personal application of his faith. If a man has faith in the efficacy of a medicine, and is able to apply that faith to himself, that medicine will certainly cause him to be cured. But though his faith be great, he will not be cured unless he applies it to himself. Many sick people have faith for others, but none for themselves. So, if he has faith in a system of diet, and can personally apply that faith, it will cure him. And if he has faith in prayers and affirmations, and personally applies his faith, prayers and affirmations will cure him. Faith, personally applied, cures, and no matter how great the faith or how persistent the thought, it will not cure without personal application. The science of being well, then, includes the two fields of thought and actions. To be well, it is not enough that a person should merely think in a certain way. He must apply his thought to himself, and he must express and externalize it in his outward life by acting in the same way that he thinks. Okay. I'm going to read that last part again because I kind of missed it. I kind of got distracted by this fly. I think it was a fly. It came up and he flew right on my eyelash. Okay. We're just doing some dishes right now, and I think it's some good work. Got a little bit of sweat going. Dishes are a lot of work, especially this message to you guys that don't do the dishes. I know the majority of, hopefully the majority of, I'm just gonna leave it as that. But for guys and girls, doing dishes is definitely some sweaty work when you're really into it, and you got your groove going. Okay. The science of being well, then, includes the two fields of thoughts and actions. To be well, it is not enough that a person should merely think in a certain way. He must apply his thought to himself, and he must express and externalize it in his outward life by acting in the same way he thinks. Okay, so that is the end of Chapter 1, and the principle of health. Remember, he's talking about the placebo effect, although he doesn't say it himself personally, but everything he's explaining is explaining the placebo effect. When the person actually believes that they will be healed, and that healing power within them, the source of health within them comes into play, it becomes active, and then it begins to heal the body. Amazing. That is absolutely amazing, and that is really cool. And that is the end of Chapter 1. I will see you guys in the next video, and take care.